Hello everyone. A few of you have been asking me about what are the different types of jade bangles there are and what should they be looking out for when they are purchasing or investing in a piece of jade bangle. So I decided to put it all together into one video because I've been asked this question quite a few times. For those of you who are new, welcome to the Pearl Atelier. My name is Eileen, and today we are going to explore about the different qualities and different aspects of jade bangles when you are purchasing a piece of jade bangle. So I'm not going to go into jade bracelets because that's another different whole category. So the first one that I would like to feature is the princess cut jade bangle. So I've got quite a few of the princess cut jade bangle, most notably the red blood or the cognac red color jade bangle that was gifted to me by my aunt. I think that's a great example of a princess cut jade bangle that is also circa 1970s. So this is the most classic type of a jade bangle there is. So meaning to say, if you were to cut the jade bangle and look at it from the side of the jade bangle, it is cut in like a circle or like a cylinder. So imagine that the whole circumference of the jade bangle is rounded into a circle or a cylinder. So that is what is called a princess cut jade bangle. Suffice it to say, that is one of the most best loved jade bangle type there is, because it is extremely feminine and it is extremely fluid looking, especially when you're wearing it on your wrist. It looks very, very lightweight and very feminine. So that is the most classic cut of all. And then you come to the half moon or semicircle jade bangle. A lot of the times the semicircle jade bangle is more of an archaic type of a design where the jade needs to be really sturdy. So for example, I've got this is one of the most outstanding pieces of jade bangle that I have, which is an archaic jade bangle, and which I didn't even get from a jade shop or a jewelry shop. I actually got it from an actual antique shop where I used to go once in a while, and sometimes he would have fabulous pieces of jade antiques there. And truthfully speaking, that jade bangle is too large for me, but I still got it because I am a regular customer of his. He gave me a very special discount, and I really wanted to have that in my collection, just like a showcase or sort of like a jewel in the collection of all my jade bangles, because I know that in my lifetime I probably will not be able to find something like that in my size. So that one is in a very archaic type of a design, the semicircle, the half moon, or some people call it the D shape, because a lot of the times people need to have a very sturdy type of a jade bangle in the past, because when they are purchasing a piece of jade bangle, they are wearing it for life. They do not remove it like I do. I do not like to have a jade bangle throughout my life because I love changing up my jewelry to complement whatever that I'm wearing. So every time I take it off, because I do not want to end up with having one piece of jewelry for the whole of my life. So in the past, people would say that if you want to purchase a jade bangle, make sure that it is quite a substantial in size, because otherwise it would look like, why do you have not enough money to be able to purchase a substantial piece of jade? I think they're not just being sarcastic, because as I mentioned in the past, people would actually wear it for life. So the D shape or the half moon shaped one is much more sturdier, because if you look at the design of it, the inner wall or the inner circumference of the jade bangle is a straight cut, like it's like a solid wall, whereas if you look at the princess cut, the inner circumference is very thin because it is the start of the circle and it goes round. So the circumference or the inner circumference is actually very small. So princess cut jade bangle is much more susceptible to breakage than a semicircle or a half moon one. That is exactly why a lot of the archaic type of jade bangles are shaped like a half moon, especially when they are doing carvings on it, because you need to have a solid backing, the solid inner wall, to be able to sustain all the carvings, the heavy carvings that they're going to be doing on the piece of jade bangle. So you can see how absolutely fabulous it is. It is absolutely majestic. The way that it is done, it is so extremely substantial. When you put it on, you can tell it's immediately the weight of it, the way that it is constructed is extremely solid. The only thing that is cumbersome about it is quite weighty. When you wear it on your hand, you really can feel the weight of it, and sometimes at the end of the day, especially if you're wearing it even just for a day, at the end of it you feel it is quite heavy. You've been like it is as if your whole day your wrists have been doing heavy exercises, sustaining the weight of the jade on your hand. However, when you wear it, it looks very majestic. So for example, this semicircle jade bangle that I have is a prime example of it. It is in a celadon green and as well as with a lavender jade, which I also showcased in my latest video, including this lavender pair of jade earrings. So do check out that video as well. I'll be linking it towards the end in the playlist. For this one, if you cut it into half and you look at it from the side, it actually looks like a half moon, a half circle, or a D cut. The next one that I'm going to be talking about is the slim cut. So this is sort of like having an inner wall of a flat wall in the inner circumference, and then the outer wall is just a very slight curve, sort of like a crescent moon. Is hardly there, but there is that curve. This one is a modern cut, a modern sort of like evolution from the half moon or the D cut, so that it looks very modern, very sleek looking. I think the only example that I have of this is a moss green colored jade bangle, which I've never really featured on my channel before. I seldom wear it unless I'm wearing that sort of a color on me, but I just got it on a trip to Hong Kong because I felt it was so unique. So every single one of these jade bangles is in the shape of a circle. And then we go on to the next one, which is the oblong shaped jade bangle. So this one is much more of a modern shape as opposed to the round circled one. So this one is in the shape of an O, the character or the alphabet character of O. So when you look at it, it has got two diameters, which is the shorter one, which is the height of the jade bangle, and then the longer diameter is the length of the jade bangles. So a lot of the times people make that mistake and then they measure the shorter width in order to purchase another jade bangle, and then they find out that the other jade bangle is too small for them to squeeze through their wrist, and then they're wondering what happened. And then that's what happened to me in actual fact. So you have to measure the longer diameter of the oblong jade bangle, because that is the correct measurement. I've got this absolutely gorgeous rose colored almost lilac colored jade bangle together with a mutton fat jade. I also got that on a trip to Hong Kong, and I saw it and I fell in love with it, and then I didn't get it at that point in time. And then the second time when I went, thank goodness it was still there, obviously, because it is too small. My wrist is actually very small. A lot of the times people are describing it as a kid's bangle because I only can take a jade bangle from 50 to 52 mm. Other than that, it will be a little bit too big for me. So for example, a lot of my jade bangles is actually too big for me. So what do you do once you purchase a piece of jade, on which hand should you wear it? So the best hand to wear it on is your left hand, because a lot of us are right-handed, and so it is less cumbersome to be worn on the left hand. However, another reason for it to be worn on the left hand is because the veins on your left hand is connected directly to your heart. That's exactly why your wedding band is worn on the fourth finger, because that finger's veins is attached directly and runs directly to your heart. And this is why the metaphysical property of the jade works, in the sense that when you are wearing a piece of jade on your left hand, it encircles your wrist and it is connected to your veins attaching to your heart. So this is precisely why it is worn on the left hand. It promotes that myth of good health, because the jade bangle is encircling your wrist, and every time when you look at it, especially if it's a green jade bangle, you look at the color of nature, you will feel almost instantly uplifted and happy most of the time. It is life-giving. The color green is life-giving. It is reflective of nature. And the second thing as well is that jade has a very cooling quality, so it actually calms you down. And we know that a lot of the times in our world we are so stressed, and that's exactly why when the jade is put on your wrist, it is encircling your whole wrist. It gives a very secure feeling to it as well. So this is the metaphysics quality of the piece of jade. It's also a psychological thing. So this is exactly why in the past people would actually gift a piece of jade to their loved ones, especially to the matriarch of the family when she is of an elderly age, or to a young person, to wish her good health, and also to wish her good luck in all her future undertakings. And how to care for your jade, I've actually done a whole video on that. So if you want to look into how to care for your jade, do check that video out as well. But I would advise you, once you buy a piece of jade, that you will not put it together with all your other jewelry, because they might scratch the surface of the piece of jade over time. If you are just chucking it in together with other metallic sort of a jewelry, it may scratch the surface of the piece of jade. So I would advise that you put it in a sachet or in its own separate container. So most of the jade sellers nowadays, they would actually give you a jade sachet or a bag. You can buy a very pretty embroidered bag. I always do that. I collect a lot of them so that you can store it in them and then put it in your jewelry box. So when it comes to the color of the jade bangle, it's really up to your personal preference, but a lot of people tend to be drawn to the apple green jade bangle because they always associate jade with that color. Some of them may not realize that there are other colors available, and a lot of the times if you are from a Chinese background and you sort of know what each color represents, some people tend to buy jade based on that as well. So for example, the apple green jade is always associated with good health, prosperity. Also, if you're gifting it to an elderly person, it's very important that you should not be giving them jade that is black in color or white in color unless it is their personal liking. For example, to the matriarch of the family, they would prefer to choose the apple green jade, or the celadon green jade even would please them very much, because the celadon green jade is one of the most sort of like ancient color that only the older generation would know how to appreciate. The color white has always been a taboo in the past, but it's been worn by people from the religious sect. They find it like it is a color of purity, and for example, in modern times, obviously people find it very appealing, for myself as well, because it is good for cleansing, it is good for clarity of mind. Also, if you want to have an inner peace, that sort of thing, that is the color for you. The color black as well, as I mentioned in the past, people will stay away from not only the color black but also the blue jade, because they see that the blue jade is sort of like a shade step away from the color black, and they only wear it, for example, during the morning period. But obviously in modern times, people's perception have changed. So the black jade, for example, is very good for it's almost the same kind of qualities like that in the crystal world, that it helps you against office politics, backstabbing, that sort of thing. It helps to absorb any kind of negative energy, or if you're dealing with a lot of computer work, which actually all of us are dealing with right now. So all these are the metaphysics aspects of it. If you want to invest and purchase a piece of jade, the best thing to do is actually to go to as many jade shops as you possibly can go to. Shopping online, I will not advise jade. I've seen very, very good examples of it recently as well, where the feel and the touch of it is almost like jade, but it's not. So they're getting better and better at faking it, and if you are not careful, you will be cheated. So the best way for you to do is actually to hone your skill, to go to as many jade shops as possible. Even so, sometimes I've seen as well jade shops where they are actually mixing very, very good quality genuine pieces of jade and with agate and passing it off as jade. So you have to be able to discern from your own point of view. Also, how do you discern from a genuine piece of jade from a fake piece of jade? I've done a whole video on that. You can check that out as well. Basically, the feel of it, it has to feel cold to the touch. The sound test as well, when you clink on it, it has to have, the higher the sound, the higher quality of a piece of jade it is. And then the color of it, the luminosity of it, the more luminous a piece of jade is, the more translucent a piece of jade is, the more high in quality it is. And to be able to differentiate and to understand why some pieces of jade are affordable and some pieces of jade are very, very highly priced, exorbitant, because when you look at the quality and the beauty of it, you can understand it firsthand by looking at it. Right now, I've seen a great renaissance of interest in jade again in the young people, especially in China, where because of the renaissance of a lot of period dramas, they are getting more and more interested back into their culture, and that's where the jade market really is booming into a billion-dollar business. So I hope that this video has helped you in general about how to go about choosing and selecting a piece of jade bangle to purchase, to own, or to invest in, or to purchase it for a loved one. If you have any questions on jade whatsoever, you may comment down below. I usually answer to all of my comments, and I hope that you will find that perfect piece for you. If you take your time, if you're patient, the perfect piece of jade will come to you. And believe me, once you have purchased one and own it, you will be mesmerized forever. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope that you have an absolutely fabulous week ahead. Goodbye.